Rutgers basketball loses at Kennesaw State on Sunday, 79-77. Dug themselves a major hole, fought back, had a chance to win it in the last possession, and failed to get a shot off. Brutal weekend for Rutgers fans all around after football's lost on Saturday. Rutgers men's basketball, the concerns we saw in those first few games in terms of the defensive issues, rebounding concerns, they all showed up today in big form as Rutgers just, did not. I think the most disappointing thing, and this is on the coaching staff, this is on Steve Peichel, this team wasn't ready to play at the start. They went into a buzzsaw, 3,800 fans, Kennesaw State. They were fired up. Kennesaw State is in Conference USA. It's ranked the 10th best league out of Ken Palm out of 31. So it's a legit mid-major league. That was a legit environment for college basketball on Sunday, and Rutgers wasn't ready. They weren't ready for the intensity of that environment, and they did not match it on the floor. And that is, I think, the biggest disappointment, and that's on Peichel. He mentioned it in the press, in his press post-game quotes, but that was the biggest disappointment. Defensively, they were a mess. Rebounding-wise, the entire game, obviously, they came back in the second half. Defense was much, much better. Rebounding was an issue the entire game. The identity of this team offensively was not there in the beginning. There was way too much hero ball, ISO, not enough sharing of the basketball. They weren't in the flow of the game. It was 15-14. They trailed, and then they allowed a 16-5 run that really broke the game open. I think from Rutgers' perspective, listen, Ace Bailey, this was his homecoming. The only reason Rutgers was playing this game was because of Ace Bailey. You have to feel for him and J. Mike. They did not play their best at all. Bailey registering. He was in foul trouble a lot of this game. He did play 32 minutes, but just 6 of 17 from the floor. Was 4 of 10 from 3, but took a lot of tough shots. Did not get to the rim nearly enough. Just 1 rebound after a 10-rebound performance. That was really critical. Again, rebounding, a major problem for this team in this game. And had 3 turnovers, a block, and a steal, but was kind of fighting uphill and never really got going. Again, he hit the 4 threes, but that start was really tough. He started 3 of 10 from the floor, so he finished 3 of 7 from the floor. And obviously that last sequence at the end of the game, he gets the rebound. He goes up half court. He looks to make the unselfish play, cross-court pass to Zach Martini, and gets intercepted. So I think if he had looked to dribble a little bit more at the rim, Jay Will was open in the corner. Would have been. Again, Jay Will's not the best three-point shooter, but you also have to talk about just this team learning how to win down the stretch. Dylan Harper was fantastic in that second half. Led the team with 21 points, 10 of 18 from the floor. What was he in the second half? He was 8 of 14 from the floor in the second half, 17 points. Was not nearly involved enough in the first half. That guy's just, he's your guy. And as talented and as dynamic as Ace Bailey is, the offense has to run through Dylan Harper. And Dylan Harper is going to help Ace Bailey in terms of his shot selection, which certainly was an issue in the beginning of this game. Dylan overall in this game, 21 points, 10 of 18 from the floor, 1 of 4 from 3. Did not get to the foul line. That was an issue in his part. He did have 9 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 steals, 3 rebounds. Did have 2 fouls, 35 minutes. They were +8 with him on the floor. +8 with him on the floor, -10 when he wasn't. So he was a huge factor in this. He is what makes this team go. And that wasn't really there in the first half. And that's a big reason why I think they fell behind so much. And then the early second half, they trailed as many as 22 points. And credit to this team. Defensively, they got it going. They had 7 second half steals. Kennesaw had 13 second half turnovers. Really allowed Rutgers to get back in the game. In terms of points off of turnovers in this game, Rutgers 24-6 edge, only committed 9. So they did their job in that part. They were 74% from the foul line, 17 of 23. They were 8 of 25 from 3, just 32%. Allowed 30%. Kennesaw State 8 of 27. Shot just 39% from the floor because they were only 18 of 41 from two. So a lot of mid-range, just in terms of a lot of mid-range misses. In terms of at the rim, they were 12 of 19. So listen, that's over 60%. You like to be a little bit better than that. But overall, I mean, the mid-range just really hurt them and took way too many. 22 mid-range shots there. Would they make 6? So that was really a big part of why they lost this game. Overall, just in terms of not having that intensity ready. You're on the road. Obviously, it was the first road game for the freshmen. You have a lot of veterans in this game, but this team, this was a learning experience. We hope, right? I understand the concerns. I mean, through 5 games, this team is not where they need to be. That's obvious. And in terms of what they have now, you go into Feast Week. You have Notre Dame on Tuesday, who's coming off a loss to Elon. You have Alabama on Wednesday, and then you have whoever else on the Saturday. And you have to come back quickly. A little bit over 48 hours. You got to play Notre Dame, and you play a team that can shoot the ball, and that's going to be hungry too, coming off a loss. So I think from Pico's perspective, we talked about this in the post game, but obviously the first half they weren't ready to play, and they weren't playing Rutgers basketball. Now, rebounding wise, I mean, they just got obliterated against a team that should never happen. Minus 19 on the boards, offensive boards, minus 6. Kennesaw 22-15 and second chance points. Really took advantage of that. Also, points in the paint. Rutgers came back in that second half, had 24 points in the paint, had a +2, 34-32 edge, just 10 fast break points. I think this team needs to press more. This team needs to trap more. And you saw that in the second half, and I think it allowed them to play at a more natural pace. In that first half, they just tried to go run and gun and, really made some poor offensive decisions, and they didn't have the intensity on the glass. In terms of other notable scores, Abole was the third leading scorer, 10 points, 4 or 5 from the floor, 2 or 3 from the foul line, but just 2 rebounds. I mean, when Ace Bailey has 1 rebound, Abole has 2 rebounds, Zach Martini has 1 rebound. The 3 guys there, and then Somerville had 3 rebounds. He played 18 minutes, 6 points, 1 or 3 from the floor, 4 or 4 from the foul line for Somerville, 3 rebounds. But between Bailey, Abole, Martini, and Somerville, you had 7 rebounds. I mean, that's not going to win you any games, especially when you start playing Power 4 competition. So not nearly enough on the glass. Credit to Durkak and PJ Hayes on the glass. Durkak, 4 points, 1 of 5 from the floor. Again, offensively, he's not really, able to give this team enough from a shooting perspective. That's going to draw attention off of Harper and Bailey. He is unselfish. He is gritty. He plays really tough defense. So there's a give and take there. He had 6 rebounds, led them, 3 assists, 1 turnover, 1 steal in 18 minutes, +3. Then you had PJ Hayes. He had 5 boards. He did have 4 fouls. 3 guys had 4 fouls this game, Bailey, Hayes, and Somerville. But PJ took 2 of 4 from 3, 2 of 2 from the foul line. He had 8 points, 5 boards, 3 steals, 20 minutes. PJ Hayes is giving you something. I think, listen, might need to play more. Martini just played 19 minutes. Didn't give you a lot. 1 of 3 from 3, 3 points, just 1 board, 1 assist, no turnovers, no fouls. But they were +12 on the floor when Martini was there. That was a team high. And, listen, J. Mike had an 0 for 4 from the floor. Didn't give him much else. Did have a block and a steal. And then also Tyson Akoff. He was on the floor when they were trailing 15-14. They went down 11 points. He didn't take any shots. He did have a steal and an immediate turnover. I don't know if they were just had a flow with him. I think 2 points. Rutgers hasn't gotten Akoff going, and he's still coming back from his injury, and they have not gotten Jeremiah Williams, fully going with that shoulder issue. And I think that, more than anything, to me, is, that's why a big reason, I think, why they're not where they need to be. And I think it also gives hope of why this team can make real progress, because Jeremiah Williams has to be the third cog. We counted on him to be the third scorer going into this year, and he showed signs in that second half. He brought this team energy. He showed some guts. He scored 8 points in this game, was just 1 of 4 from the floor, but got to the line, 6 of 6 from the line for him. Had 3 rebounds, 2 assists, a turnover, 4 steals, really forced the action defensively. And maybe this was the game that he needed to kind of get him going. He's been battling that shoulder injury, but Rutgers needs J-Will as a legit third guy on this team. And then I thought Tyson Acuff could be the fourth scorer. So neither have been able to give Rutgers that. And I think that showed up in a big way in this game. And I think if Jeremiah Williams can return to form and be the player that we know he can be when he's healthy, that's going to be huge. And listen, Ace Bailey missing the first 2 games, that didn't help matters either. I got a lot of went after Shiano, you have to go after Peichel. First of all, it's 2 different situations. Second of all, I didn't go after Shiano. I called out rightful criticism in his decision-making in that game. I also praised him for the way he's gotten his program off the mat into bowl eligibility. And I've mentioned plenty of the injuries. So let's mention some of the injuries with Rutgers basketball. Ace Bailey missing those first 2 games. Tyson Acuff coming off the foot injury. J-Will with the shoulder injury. This team is not where they need to be, in part because of that. They're not rebounding nearly at a level as a team as they need to. Defensively, the perimeter, Kennesaw State did not shoot particularly well, 8 of 27, but still too many open looks from 3. By the way, the message board guy on Rivals that said, is it time for Aaron Brightman to say they can't play defense? Sure. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Thank you for that. Listen, perimeter defense, they're not switching fast enough. They're not closing out on threes. This team has to learn. And this road environment today hopefully taught this team a big lesson. And there's no doubt this team has pride, right? And Dylan and Ace, there's a lot of hype now. They're going to have an interview coming out with TNT and Taylor Rooks. I mean, they're going to be on the national stage now here in Vegas, and they're coming off this loss. So this team's going to show what they're made of this week. I think this can help them a lot going to Vegas. Notre Dame, that's a dangerous game. That team can, offensively can put it up. Rutgers is going to have to get stops in that game. They're going to have to control the glass. Obviously, they have to score. Again, they didn't play their best game tonight. They did 15 assists on 26 field goals, much better in the second half. But overall, this team's just got to play smarter. They got to play more together. And I did like the 5 on the floor at the end of the game. I mean, Peichel's still tinkering with rotation in this game a little bit, but I like the 5 on the floor at the end of the game, even though it didn't work out. Dylan, Ace, Martini, Hayes, and J-Will. That, I think, is the closing 5 for most games. I think it should be. Obviously, that gives you more offense. So when you're trailing, that's going to be probably his go-to. And again, you have to learn how to close out games. And they as far as a whole as they dug down 22, this team showed fight to get back in the game. They had a chance to win it on the last possession. Couldn't get a shot off. We've seen that too many times as Rutgers fans, and that was really disappointing. Again, Ace trying to be unselfish there, but there's got to be more of a plan there. And I think the plan is you put the ball in Dylan Harper's hands and let him play make, whether that's him get to the rim, whether that's him take the shot, whether that's him find an open man, including Ace. This team will learn from this. They're going to have to. And listen, in terms of Peichel, I said many times before the season, this was going to be the most challenging season of his career. And there's a lot on the line. There's a ton of pressure. And how is he going to press the right buttons? How is he going to find answers? Right? And he hasn't done that yet in terms of this game and just defensively and rebounding. Now, there's a long way to go. The ceiling for this team is still to be determined. And you could look back on a loss like this as helping this team understand things, play better, play more together, learning what is needed, right? In terms of at this level. And they're not even in the Big Ten yet and they're not even playing Power 4 teams, but they need to create their own energy. I'll have a full preview for Feast Week, but this team has a great opportunity to respond this week. This was surely a very disappointing loss. Metrics is not good. Net, it's probably going to be a Q3 loss on the road. Credit to Steve Peichel for playing this game, for doing this for J. Mike and Ace, for playing a mid-major that, is made the NCAA tournament 2 years ago. This was always a game on the schedule. I think there was some concern. It's now 2 days to Notre Dame. Not, they're going to play 3 games in 4 days. So we'll see how this team holds up. I mean, listen, they got punched in the mouth in this game. Michael talked about before the year. They haven't been punched in the mouth yet. Well, here you go. They got punched in the mouth. How will this team respond? Overall, just in terms of any final stats here that I wanted to cover, I think this team's still searching for their full identity and how they play best together. And it was a lesson learned. And let's hope it gets applied really quickly. You can't go 0 for Feast Week. You got to come out of there with a win. And obviously, bouncing back on short rest against Notre Dame would do wonders for this team's psyche, would do wonders for the confidence in this team. And we'll see what they're made of. So, again, it's November. This team suffers another disappointing non-conference loss in November. But college basketball, good teams lose 9, 10, 11 games in a regular season. They're not going to be ranked now. Whatever, right? It's all about this team getting better, building a resume, huge opportunity in Vegas, and what they can ultimately do as a team in March. So let's hope we look back on this loss and say, you know what? This made this team better, and this got them forward to where they were having what we hope is a big, successful end of season. Or, as I said in the preseason, this could be a big disaster. There's a lot of things that could happen. How is this team going to continue to mesh? How is Steve Parker going to continue to try to find the right combinations and get the most out of this team? But this team's got to be tougher. They got to be more physical. They got to be more in tune with what needs to happen to win basketball games, and that is on the defensive end. That's on the glass, sharing the basketball within the flow of the offense, taking shots within the flow of the offense. And Rutgers dropping Kennesaw State 79-77. Terrible weekend for Rutgers fans. And at least Thanksgiving holiday week is here. Feast week is here. Rutgers has a chance to bounce back in a big way quickly here. And we'll have you covered. I'll have a full preview of Feast week coming out on Monday for the Scarlet Faithful podcast. Thank you so much for listening once again.